You could just leave.
Dude, what do you want?
Okay, so now that the epic battle of the wasp has concluded, hopefully he might come back, we're gonna do a little story time type of thing. So the reason for this video is because pretty soon I'm going to be going over how I budget my money, and I think I mentioned in the other video about money that my budgeting system it's very strict, it's very frugal, and there are two main experiences in my life that I have gone through that are pretty much the main reasons as to why my budgeting is so extreme. So yeah, I feel like I kind of want to share them with you, so that way later when I go over like my monthly budget and how I sort my money and everything, it'll kind of make a little bit more sense, other than like, whoa, like you're just way too hardcore for no reason. When I first moved, this is the first experience, by the way. So when I first moved to California, where I had been living previously, I had a job that I'd been working at for a couple of years. I was able to transfer my job to California. That was awesome. But what happened after that, not so awesome. So I got over there, you know, filled out the paperwork, whatever, did the whole transfer process, started working for them, and I had been told that because it's still the same company, but because it's a new location, that my paycheck was going to be delayed. You know how like when you start a new job, you don't always get like your paycheck right away. You have to wait till like maybe the next pay period or something. So yeah, that's what I was told, that I was going to have to go through that whole thing. That's fine, whatever, I understand, like, sure. So I'm going through that, and at this point, you know, I'm renting a room in a house, I've registered to go to school, had to pay for that, you know, all kinds of, you know, my bills are still happening, but it's all good, right, because I've got a job. So I wait the following pay period, and I'm like, hey, like, did my check come in? It didn't. So I was like, okay, no big deal, I can wait, you know, the next time, like, surely it should be here. So I wait another pay period. And I'm like, hey, can I have my check? Like, I wasn't even like, hey, is it here? I was like, can I have it? Because, like, it should totally be here by now. And the GM was like, yeah, no, we don't have it yet. And this continued for at least 2 months. I'm not going to go into, like, specifics of, like, why or what happened or anything, because it was, frankly, it was really ridiculous. So I think you can all assume, and it would be safe to do so in this case, that I really didn't have a lot of money left in my bank account. Because here I am, I had just moved to a new state, which comes with its own set of costs. Plus, it's not like my bills just stopped dead in their tracks. So I'm, you know, still paying all my bills to the best of my ability, and I've got money going out, but I have no money coming in. And that was honestly just like so super stressful. And it got to the point where, okay, so the job that I had, it was in the downtown area. So, you know, of course, you have to drive to get to your job, which is money and gas. That's pretty normal. But I also had to pay for parking. It wasn't like a whole lot, but I did have to pay, like, even if it was like $1, which it wasn't, it was more than that, but it's like $1 that you have to pay for parking. That's still money coming out when I don't have any money coming in, and that's not counting every other bill that I have and that I have to feed myself and that. So eventually I just got so upset with the situation. Like, I tried to be nice and understanding for as long as I possibly could, and I think I did a really good job of that. I actually think I lasted way longer than a lot of people would have. But it finally got to the point where I will never forget this moment, because it was so, I mean, I ended up crying. So I signed on to my bank account and I checked it, and I had 33 cents in my bank account. That was it. I only had the one account, no savings, no nothing else, no cash. I had already gone through all of the money that I had. Like, I found the loose change where I could. I had 33 cents to my name. And I was like, what am I gonna do? So the next day I was supposed to work at my job. So I went, I ended up borrowing some cash from my roommate to pay for parking, and I asked my general manager again. I was like, is my check here yet? And he was like, oh no, not yet. I was pretty mad. And it was really awkward because, like I said, like, I tried to, you know, just be super chill about it, but at this point, like, I couldn't be chill about it anymore. Like, I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm like freaking out. And so I don't want to say that I like yelled at him, but I basically told him as nicely as I could at the time that I was scheduled to work like the next like 3 days, and I was like, yo, I'm not gonna be here because I don't have any money. Like, literally, I have no money. You can't just have me work and not pay me for like at least like 2 months, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't have any money to put gas in my car to get here, and I also don't have any money for parking. So I'm not gonna come the next couple of days. I'm actually not gonna come until you pay me, and you are not gonna fire me because this is all you're doing. I was like, so you can't fire me for this because I'm not coming because I literally do not have money to come here. I was so upset. And he offered to give me some cash from like the bar. This was at a restaurant. He offered to give me some cash from the bar, and I was like, no, I don't want that. I want my money, the money that I worked for, because I didn't want to take that money and then it get more complicated with the fact that, like, then they would have to deduct what they already gave me from my paycheck, and then that would affect like how many hours I worked, and then they would use like maybe use that as an excuse to like prolong paying me even more. And so I was like, yeah, no, like, I don't want that money. I don't want that cash. Like, I want my money. I want my check. Honestly, I don't really remember how like that conversation ended, or like if he said anything after that. I just know that I ended up leaving, and I did not go back for like a week or two until he called me and was like, hey, your check's here, blah blah blah. And in that time period, I definitely had been applying to other jobs, but it was like, okay, I can apply to these other jobs, but I am literally at the point, you know, I waited too long, unfortunately. Like, I put my trust in this company that they would pay me sooner rather than later, and so I had waited until it got too bad, because then at that point, even though I'm applying for jobs, if I get an interview, I don't have any money to go to the interview because I can't use all of the gas in my car, because I can't, like, if I have gas to get there, I probably at this point don't have gas to get back to the house. So like, what? So as I said, during this time, like while this is all going on, I had registered for school and I had been going to class and everything. And so there was one day where I went to class, and you know, there's a book for the class, and the book came with a CD, but you could buy the book without the CD, and it was like way cheaper, and you didn't like, we asked the professor and she was like, yeah, no, you don't like need the CD, it'll be fine, you can buy the old version of the book. And so of course, all of us broke students, we bought the old version. However, there was this one guy in our class who he had already bought the newer version, the one with the CD, and paid for it, and he was like, whatever, I'm not gonna return it, like, I have it. So at his job, he had access to like blank CDs, and he ended up just making copies of his CD for the entire class, you know, super nice. Like, nobody asked him to do that. He just took it upon himself. He's like, I have, you know, free unlimited access to these blank CDs, why not? So he did that. So he comes, we all come to class, and he's like, yeah, I made everybody these CDs, blah blah blah, gives them out, and the teacher is like suggesting that we all give him $1. Like, every student gives him $1 because he didn't have to do that for us, and it was like really nice, and we should pay him, and blah blah blah. And it's like, I could see that perspective, like that was really nice of him. But yo, homegirl right here, aka me, only had 33 cents in my bank account. So like, I can't give this guy $1, like, even if I wanted to. Like, I don't even have $1 for myself. I don't even have 50 cents for myself. And like, the thing was, it wasn't like she just kind of mentioned it. It was like, oh yeah, you guys should give him $1. Okay, let's go on with the lesson. Like, she spent a prolonged amount of time being like, no, like, you guys should take out your wallets right now, take out $1, everybody give him $1. And she was like really like adamant about this, and it made me feel horrible. Like, I wanted to cry right then and there in class. I'm like holding my desk, like my hands were like starting to sweat, and I'm just like, calm down, calm down. And I was like, oh man. And there was even like a couple of the other students, they were like, what, why? Like, they were, and he even said, the guy who brought the CDs, he's like, no, like, they don't have to give me anything, like, they were free, I got them for free from my work, like, nobody asked me to do this, like, I don't need any money, like, it's fine. But she was like, no, like, they should each give you at least $1, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, yo, like, he said it was fine, like, can we drop it? And it was just a really awkward situation. And I remember she even said, she was like, it's just $1, like, it's not even that big of a deal, like, you all have $1. And that was what really, like, hit me. I was like, no dude, like, it's just $1. There's no such thing as just $1, because right now $1 to me is the entire world. But of course I'm not gonna just like say that. And luckily there was somebody else in the class that was like, no, I'm not doing that. Because that's kind of low key what I was like praying for. I was like, please let somebody else just be so like, no, I'm not doing it. So then it makes it okay that I don't do it, because I don't want to have to be like, you know, everyone in the class gives him $1 and I'm like the one person that's like, yeah, no. So there were some people that gave him money and then some people that didn't, and I just ended up being one of the people that did it. Anyways, probably the hardest part about that whole situation for me was the fact that, like, you know, I got a brain. So I get that if you don't work, you don't make money. I get that if you're lazy, you don't make money. And I also get that if you make X amount of money and you spend more than that amount, that you're not going to have any money. But again, not the case here. And so it was just a huge reality check for me to be in a situation where I had a job, I was working, I was technically supposed to be making enough money to cover all of my bills and expenses, but yet I didn't have 50 cents to scrounge together. Like, it was so confusing, because it was like, how can this happen? Like, I felt like I was doing all of the right things as far as like having a job and not being lazy and working, but I still found myself in this position of not having any money and being completely broke. Now this is where I started to do things like, and I've talked about this before, but not in this context. Where I donated plasma, because the place I donated plasma at, I think the first time you did it, you got $40. If you did it a second time within like a certain time frame, you got $60, and then you maybe got like $30 every time you did it after that, and then you could do it a certain amount of times, like in a week or in a month. And so I started donating plasma so that I could make some extra money. I started dumpster diving so that I could get free food. And this is also when, in my free time, I would take like online surveys for money. So yeah, I've talked about those things in terms of like making money or getting your side hustle on and everything. And it really is like, I tried those things not because I'm like, oh, dumpster diving, that sounds fun. It was more of like, I needed to do it because I didn't know what else I was going to do. It was either like, don't eat, or go get some food where it's free. I chose to eat and get some food where it was free. That being said though, I wasn't, I was already so frustrated and so sad. I just felt like I really didn't have a choice to be more upset. Like, I just didn't. So I had to look at donating plasma and dumpster diving and the survey thing. I had to look at them as something exciting, which I know that sounds so weird, and it like, because those things like aren't really exciting, but I saw them as like, okay, like this could be fun, it's something new, it's like a new little adventure, like trying to figure this out, like how does this work, you know? That's kind of how those things took place, because I think a lot of the time when I talk about them, it kind of confuses people as to, oh, you just decided to dumpster dive, like you wanted to be so frugal that you decided that that was a good idea. Because it's like, low-key, it honestly came out of an act of desperation, but I didn't have the luxury of feeling sorry for myself or feeling like it was gross, because that was kind of the only option at the time. And so I turned it into something that was fun. And now, like looking back on it, and it wasn't easy, you know, just to say that, like it wasn't easy to switch over my mentality like that. Like I definitely had to talk to myself a lot, be like, no, this is fine, you'll look back at this one day and it'll just be kind of funny. And like now I look back on it and I'm like, what was my life? Like, what was I doing? And again, I can't say this enough, it'd be one thing if I had let myself get into that position, and again, arguably, I wasn't the most proactive at preventing that situation, because I should have had maybe more of a savings. I maybe should have, looked for another job way sooner. I'm not going to argue and say that those things are not true, because 100% they are. But I was like really young at the time. I had no idea what I was doing. So unfortunately, my lack of responsibility and maturity combined with the circumstances at hand resulted in that situation. So the one thing that I really took from that is that I never want this to happen again. Like, I never want to be in this position again. I don't want to have to do things that I might not necessarily normally do out of desperation because I'm broke. I never want someone to be talking about $1 and feel ashamed and sad that I don't have $1, and that the fact that I never want to not have $1, so that was something that was like over the course of a few months, and it took a really big toll on how I view money and how I view having a savings. Because here's the thing too, it's like the general rule of thumb is that if you have a job, you will have some money. Will it be enough money? I don't know. That, again, that's a different topic, but you will have some money. But yet, finding myself in a position where I felt like I was doing everything that I possibly could, and nothing. It was like I might as well have not been working at all and just enjoyed my free time. Now, I am definitely not trying to, I'm talking about my personal situation. I'm not trying to talk bad about people who are in different situations, who are unintentionally homeless, or who are unintentionally living in their car because of really bad circumstances. I'm not saying anything about anybody else. I'm not judging anybody else. Honestly, that's all a completely different thing. Like, I am just talking about me and my experience in that regard. So I get it. It might sound maybe entitled, maybe a little dramatic about how I was so sad and upset, and I should be lucky that I even had 33 cents. I should be lucky that I was even able to have a job. I should feel really fortunate that I was able to transfer my job. And it's like, yes, I did feel all of those things. However, finding myself in that position where I was doing things like donating plasma so that I could buy groceries. Yeah, I don't really care how you look at it. It wasn't where I wanted to be. Like, it wasn't, and it was really hard to go through, but it was my reality. Okay, so I think that I have gone on and on about that first experience enough. Yeah, okay, there's a lot of emotion there if you can't tell. So, all of that in experience number 1, I was paying rent, living in a house. Everything eventually got situated. I got my paycheck. I got all the money that I was owed. I ended up immediately leaving that job, getting another one. It was all good. So life goes on like that for a while. I catch up. I am still, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm going to school. I'm making enough money to keep myself out of debt as far as school and everything. I'm making enough money to pay rent, to pay my bills, but there's really not a whole lot of extra money there. And so, you think I would have learned my lesson the first time? Even if I could save $1, low key, you should probably be saving that $1. But did I learn? No, I didn't. So that brings us to situation numero dos. So I had moved into my car at this point. This is, I don't know how many jobs later, and I don't know how much time passed between the 2 experiences. I could probably figure it out, but it doesn't matter. Really, it's irrelevant. So at this point, I had one job, a main job. It was a 9 to 5. And the company that I was working for was going to go out of business. So that meant when they did, we all ended up on unemployment, which I'm super grateful for, because it wasn't oh crap, what are we gonna do? At least I had some sort of income still. However, this is the time frame that I refer to when I'm talking about how I lived in my car making only $400 a month. It was because I was on unemployment. So for sure, I think it goes without saying that that situation is not ideal. And I kind of saw it as, you know what, at least silver lining of all of this, I live in a car. Because if I had ended up on unemployment while still living in a house and paying rent, that just wasn't gonna work. But because I was living in my car, I was like, you know what? It's gonna be okay. Like, this is really hard, but it's gonna be okay. Kind of had to talk that idea into myself, into believing it. Like, yeah, had to make myself believe that. You know, all in all, in the end, it totally was okay. But living on $400 a month, that's how much my unemployment was, is not a lot. Especially considering at the time, I was still making payments on my car. And this doesn't count like my insurance or anything else. Just my car was $300 a month by itself. So that left me $100 a month to, you know, survive. So during this phase of my life, there was definitely a lot of unhealthy habits going on, such as I would probably eat like one meal a day, if that. There are some days where I just like didn't eat, or I would like buy a loaf of bread and I would just eat bread like when I got hungry. Or one thing that I really kind of survived off of was Jack in the Box tacos, which are not the best for you. I mean, I still think they're delicious. But I would buy Jack in the Box tacos and I would kind of like, I would buy one and then that's what I would eat for the whole day. So yeah, really bad. I know. I swear I don't, it's not because I was trying to lose weight or anything like that. It was like, yo, I don't got any money and I got things to pay for, so well, that's gonna happen. And like, luckily, even though I was on unemployment, I was still in school, so I didn't need a gym membership to shower. I could just shower where I went to school, so that was free. So I was still able to, I think if I hadn't had showers at that point, I might have just like melted into the earth and disappeared, because I don't think I could have. Showers like saved my life, yo, like for real. Because, you know, keeping yourself clean and feeling refreshed is, I think it's everything when it comes to like this lifestyle. Because for me, when I'm dirty, like sweaty and gross and haven't showered in 5 days, I definitely don't feel my best. So if I don't feel my best physically, and then I've already got a lot going on in here that I don't feel my best mentally either, I don't think I would have survived. So I'm pretty certain that showers, they did a lot for me in those days. And of course, even though I was on unemployment, I was still applying for jobs, trying to get all that worked out. But I did end up going like, what was it? Like, I think like 5 months on unemployment, where I was making $400 a month and my car payment was $300 a month. So I lived on $100 for 5 months. It wasn't enough. Like, I managed to do it. I probably didn't do the best job that I could, because it was just such a new situation for me. Because even though I had always kind of lived paycheck to paycheck, again, it was like I was coming from a place where I always had just enough money to figure things out. But then here I am in a situation where there's not just enough money. So what do you do when there's not enough money? You still gotta work with what you got. You know, the principles of what to do don't change, but you're definitely gonna have to make some adjustments and just figure it out. And it's not easy. Like, I have so much empathy for anyone who has ever been in situations similar to this or worse. Like, oh man, it pains me to know that people go through things like this. And you know, my situations weren't even that bad. Like, at least I had $100 a month that I was being given, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I was still pretty lucky, and I was well aware of that. And what that situation, the second experience of being on unemployment, really taught me was how to live on something as simple as $100 a month. So realistically, I would never, ever, ever, ever recommend anyone try that. I would never, ever, ever, decide that I wanted to do that again. No, because it just wasn't enough. But I do think that it really, really helped me in terms of identifying like things that are absolute necessities, like you just cannot function without. Like, necessities, like, yeah, you really do kind of need them, but like, if you really push it, you could probably go without it, at least for a little bit. So as much as I hated going through the experience, made it out alive, and it did teach me a lot of like categorizing those things and learning how to live functionally with very, very little money. And because of the fact that I saw what I was capable of put in these two situations and what they felt like, especially felt like, because these were two very, very distinct phases in my life that I will never ever forget, as much as I would like to, because they were so emotional. Like, I can't even put into words how difficult they were, and I can only pray that I don't ever go through anything like that again. But at the end of the day, I am grateful that they happened because they taught me so much. They made me understand, like I had always understood the value of $1, and I always knew that it was a good idea to have a savings. And I always knew that if you really needed to be frugal, you could. But to put all of it in such a dramatic, real life scenario. However, because I know what it's like to live on $100, because I know what it's like to feel like I'm doing everything right, and to have 33 cents, you best believe that I've got a lot of backup plans, okay? Yeah. Lots and lots of backup plans. I know that I kind of talked in circles a lot, and I'm sorry, but I had never really talked about those things before, so it was very unfiltered and just kind of like scatterbrained. My bad. But I really wanted to just talk about these, get them off my chest, share them with y'all, so that way when you guys see my budgeting plan, you're not gonna be looking at it like, yo, what is wrong with you? Like, bro, I've been real poor before. That's what's wrong with me. And I think it was to my benefit, because I probably wouldn't have learned these things had I not gone through those experiences, and I wouldn't have created such a, what I would consider to be a very good and efficient budget plan that I'm really, really happy with. So, okay, cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you next time.